speaking of that, actually, sorry. Now, here's something for you, right? I asked Albert the same question. Do you think that like some movies, right? You'll see them with a huge budget, right? Especially you've worked on big films as well, but you see, not to put anyone in shade or anything, but you see them with a huge budget, and you're like, man, I wish you used it better. Do you know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of people that work on it, and you just look at the story being told, and you're like, wow, I wish, man, like you. Have you ever had that feeling?
Behind the scenes, when I'm at work, I completely like detach myself from it. I can't lie. Nowadays, I'm kind of like I'm in my own world. I try not to think about stuff too much.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's like I don't know. Everyone's just doing some crazy stuff. I'm trying to think what else. That's I mean that's the first one that comes to mind. If I think of something, I'm gonna come back to it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, actually, let me move on to my next question. Do you know what's funny? I haven't even been looking at my questions. I'm really interested in this conversation because this is interesting, right? So
we could talk about that.
That's cool. Guys, we do this on the reg, you know? So back on games, right? The fact that games now seem to be way more cinematic, especially with stuff like Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War, Spiderman, basically PS4 type games. Do you think that games have learned a lot from film, and do you think that they might be even rivaling film at the moment?
Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay. I really wish I paid attention a lot more. All right. I think I need some facts to back this up. I think there's been a lot of new games, all right, yeah, who have hired like film directors. I know they definitely do it in animations. There's a lot of like definitely consultancy. The one I have to think of that straight comes to mind. I'm literally pulling from like my old knowledge from like 4 years ago. I remember Deakins was definitely a consultant on probably How to Train Your Dragon. I don't know if he did it on Kubo. Is it Kubo on the 2 strings? But I think it was definitely on How to Train Your Dragon. Like, there's definitely animations which hire cinematographer consultants. I'm not sure if that's for realism purposes in terms of when it comes to stuff like lighting. I mean, animators are pretty good anyway when it comes to that stuff. But they definitely hire consultants. Right. But the thing is, do they rival films? Quick question, actually, just to double check. Did you mean rival in terms of cinematography or just in mass appeal?
Okay. Rivaling in terms of the art form, if that makes sense. So like, let's say films are such a high prestige, right? It's on a pedestal of on a league of its own. But before you look at games and be like, oh, this nerd crap, what are you playing? Like, this doesn't make sense. How is this impacting my life? But then when you play a game like The Last of Us, right, which is a deep story in a post-apocalyptic world with so many like, and the gameplay is intricate, whereby you have to use stealth and survive, and mainly the acting in that could probably rival Academy Award acting, in my opinion. It was ridiculously good. For me now, I see games as an art form as well as film, and even anime started to get to that level for me. So I'm wondering if you see games and film kind of like that.
I see. Definitely. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna say they don't rival film.
Okay.
I'm definitely gonna say the games are definitely good in game, especially with their storytelling. Especially as you're saying with you know, as an art form in terms of picking from different elements of it and combining it, all the music, cinematography, even the directions, like the cutscenes sometimes are amazing. The storylines, and to be fair, in general, just getting, especially when it comes to like action stuff, thinking back to Uncharted, they write it really well.
Uncharted's great.
And it's still rising, I think, they're still doing great. I mean, I haven't played in a while, but I think to Last of Us, Tomb Raider, I remember there was a game called Alan Wake. Oof, Uncharted. I didn't play God of War too much. I did play a bit of Destiny. There's some, yeah, they're definitely focused on it and they're doing better. The reason I'm going to give it to film is because I think film is a lot simpler, and in terms of when it comes to communication, it's easier to get your message across. And by what I'm saying
That's
is,
fair.
let's say someone wants to talk about injustice. I think today as well, like the power of like the smartphone, it's so easy for someone to make a 5-minute film movie, and get their point across. I think there's sometimes a lot more power in film, for one, and two, the power it gives a person to get their message across. And that comes from both ends of the spectrum, i.e., you could be broke and still make a great movie. If we talk about indie movies, let's say if I pull out Fruitvale Station, something like that.
I need to watch that. I heard it's great.
You haven't watched that?
Bro, don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I know. I've watched every Ryan Coogler movie apart from Fruitvale Station. I don't know why. I don't know why. I need to watch that. Yeah, but that's on my list, so I'll watch that.
I mean, in terms of an art form, right? Like, I mean, still films do it amazingly. But I'm just thinking in terms of like outside of that and like the importance of that specific form or genre, if I say like that, in terms of film versus games. I don't know. Films like seems like such a essential form of communication, especially in like today's world.
Kind of like in a weird way. When you say a TikTok, oh, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I get where you're coming from, and you've got a point. Everything's simpler. Like you can just point, shoot, and then from what you're saying in that film, you can basically illustrate your message if with dialogue or with action. So I was gonna say something like a TikTok. Would you call that a short film essentially? Because it is kind of
low key, yeah, bro. I mean, have you seen Jason Derulo's like TikTok?
Yeah, Jason Derulo kills me on TikTok. Like, they're not funny. People hating on him, right? I know everyone loves him on TikTok because he's just so creative. He's just having fun.
Yeah, like that's something that's so simple. And it can illustrate a whole different range of emotions and like elicit them from different people as well. If you want to make someone happy, if you want to make someone feel something, you want to make someone cry, you want to make someone, you know what I mean? Like you can do that, and it's simpler, but it can still be creative and crafted very well. I.e., at 5-10 second TikTok, even the Vines back in the day, like those
yeah, Vines.
But you still gotta give it to games because I mean, coding and all that, it's still. It's not tricky. It's not tricky. It is tricky. It is tricky. Sorry, my fault. I was gonna say it's not easy. And it's an art in itself. And plus, the way they have to keep pushing forward in technology is one way as well. I think they're quite similar in ways. I feel like films are kind of sometimes starting to take more from game technology to push itself forward, and games are kind of taking more from films and wherever they're going with it to push themselves more. I mean, i.e., I haven't actually done it yet, but like cinema, is it like 4DX or whatever it is? I don't know if you've seen it when you got like 270 surround and all that stuff,
and then it rocks your chair and everything.
Yeah, all that stuff. I mean, they're trying to use like different technology to like enhance their films. I don't know if it's good yet. Even if we're talking about 3D. I mean, there's.
Sorry, now that you say it like that, isn't it kind of like if films are trying to be more like games and games are trying to be more like film? Because 4DX and 3D, thinking about it, right, they're trying to really get you into the film, right? They're trying to put you there. Compared
like a
to
game would.
Sorry?
Like a game would. If you know what I mean.
Like a game would. Like the games are like, ooh, how do we give this narrative? How do we get this shot better? How do we make this look like this? Oh, epic game, Unreal Engines, how do we make this better? Oh, speaking of that, actually, I've got a question for you. I'm sorry to go off point. So, this is a film production question, bear in mind. So, have you watched The Mandalorian?
Oh, dude, no. So now you got me feeling.
Yeah, man.
No.
Okay,
I've got the
nothing to do with the
wait.
actual story, but more to do with the production around it. So since you're, I don't know, you must have heard this or you might have heard this, but basically for Mandalorian, they used Unreal Engine to do all the backgrounds. So when you watch Mandalorian, you're like, how the hell did they make such realistic backgrounds for a streaming service? Like it's good, yeah. And I get it. A lot of TV shows nowadays, especially the Netflix ones and the future HBO ones, especially Game of Thrones, they can put you in a world and they'll make it look beautiful. But Mandalorian was on another level. Like it looked legit like a film. And I was wondering why, but I heard that they're using these panels, right, with Unreal Engine on it. So every time you move the camera, it shows you part of the location. It's hard to explain, but it's easier to see. So I was gonna ask you, based on that, that is basically games in a film. That's legit standard game in the film. What do you think about stuff like that?
I think there's a direct relationship between, I guess, games technology and films kind of pushing each other. I think the harder one person pushes here, the harder they have to push here, and then they kind of take from each other, i.e. how cinematography is getting better in games and how, the technology that they're using for visual effects and stuff like that is kind of improving. What is your question? I don't know how I do this every single time when I forget.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So, what the main question I'm wondering is, what do you think about the fact that Unreal Engine, or I don't know if I phrased it well, but what do you think about the fact that Unreal Engine and Epic, they're basically getting into film production, right? They're basically putting game worlds in film. So, for example, if let's say Disney make any other live action series or films, they're most likely going to use it because that was what they were used to. And also to touch on that, because I've jumped to touch on that basically. PS5 reveal Unreal trailer. They were saying that they're using film assets in PS5. Yeah, like they're legit in the trailer, right? You need to watch it. I don't know if you watched it. It's beautiful. They said that in the rocks in the trailer, it was actually film assets. They were from the film Unreal Engine stuff they use, like in Mandalorian and all that. So with the question on films and games intertwining, what do you think about Unreal and Epic's what's the word? Not partnership, but I'll say their investment in film. Yeah, collaboration. Yeah, what do you think about their collaboration in film?
Oof. Don't know. I'm interested to see where they're gonna take it, I guess. That's what I have to think about.
Oh, baby, because it's a lot. Like when you deep it and sit down and think about it, you're like, how is Unreal Engine so powerful to look so realistic that it can be in a film? Like that's what always blows my mind. I mean, that's what I'm gonna say, because like I didn't think games would hit a level where it would look so realistic it could be in a movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, I guess it kind of means that they can experiment more with, I guess, more sci-fi and stuff like that. If I think to like, I mean, something like James Cameron's always been like messing with this stuff as well. When you think of like Avatar, and I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately, I haven't seen cinema, but Alita Battle Agent. That was a weird one because the more I looked at the trailer, it was like, I don't even know if she was CGI or was that a mix of both? Because she was both. I don't know how he done it, because I think she's meant to be human, right, but also a robot. But then
basically, she looks like an anime character in real life. That was my impression. They're like big eyes. I was like, I see what you were trying to do, James. Like, I see.
I mean, yeah, all the CGI. I mean, I think I don't know. I'm interested in seeing where they're gonna take it. I wonder what James Cameron's doing, because I guess he's got 3 Avatar movies he's about to make.
Like 5, bro.
Yeah. So I wonder what he's doing over there actually for Avatar 2. I wonder if he's using that.
He might.
But I don't know. I mean,
I
don't know. It kind of just goes to show the constant pushing and pulling, as I was saying earlier, between games and films. And I think probably the film industry is probably got a lot more. Does it have more money revenue wise? I would think so. And it means that they've probably got the budget to kind of invest in game technology and stuff like that. And I think a lot of films kind of nowadays too. I think films have always wanted a sense of immersion, and putting you in the films. And as we said earlier, like there's something about a game which does just drop you straight in there. And games have always been pushing for, I guess, probably more immersion. From the get-go, you get more buttons, you get more story options. I mean, you had something like Mass Effect where you could like pick different conversations and stuff like that and which journey to take. And then you get like the Oculus Rift, which puts you in a game, and then remember you had like the Wii and the Wii remote, and you could actually play. They've always kind of been pushing for that sense of immersion, and I think games, the part of their pushing is also knocking on the door of film and say, we've got this technology, and then film directors are looking at it and like, how can we use that? And so you get the Unreal Engine where they can create those realistic environments, which is in their head, but you probably can't. Well, they can create it in real life, but it's cheaper. And if we're talking about misusing of budgets as well, it kind of means that they can save money by doing, all those environments through CGI and probably put it into different things, whether that means they want to pay people more or get different actors. And one of the biggest things with film is always budget and time restraints. I mean, not every film gets the budget they want. And so if they can find a way to keep that, because the worst thing you want is when you can see things are fake and it takes you out of it.
Right.
If it looks real and they can save money, it means that they have more time to make things, and I don't know, saving money is good. And I'm surprised that Unreal Engine is that actually that realistic. I need to go watch Mandalorian now.
No,
I'm surprised it's that realistic that you can.
No, I'll say for real, like it blew my mind. Like every time I was watching an episode, I was like, come on, man, this is a Star Wars movie. Like, how is this so good looking? Even though, yeah, there are no lightsabers and all that, but it's pretty top tier. Like it's crazy. All right, do you know what? I want to ask you like a couple more questions, right? And then I think I want to like, obviously I didn't get to a lot of these questions, but I think I want to do this again because this has been a lot of fun, right? So,
cool.
two things, right? No, three things. One, what's your opinion on how the epidemic has affected the film industry?
Yeah, that one is. I mean, we completely shut down pretty much. We will definitely pretty much all shut down for about a month. I'm sure for like the most of March. You're getting commercials and stuff start up again, but I think they're a very reduced crew. And if I've seen it correctly, like people are like doing it through like Zoom. Like you've got a couple people on set, and then there's like people on Zoom just telling people what to put things or how to. I mean, I think.
Oh wow.
But yeah, we completely shut down. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. Simply because, I mean, you've probably always got like 100, maybe more on set. And it can be quite close quarters, and you do just have to get close to people to kind of do the job. And if you was to think of it in probably the simplest terms, hair and makeup are going to be right next to the actors. It's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know if there's any way to kind of do makeup on an actor without being within 2 meters of them. And so I think the biggest thing, of course, is they do want to protect the crew, but of course you're gonna want to protect, especially if you got an A-list actor there. You don't want Tom Hanks getting coronavirus from your set, like, and then if Tom Hanks goes, well, you hate it then.
Yeah.
So you you don't want to kill Tom Hanks. You don't want to be that person. So I think they're working on ways for us to work safely within this kind of parameters, but I don't know, it's tricky. And I don't know how, honest as a vaccine, I don't really know how we fully get back to the way it was. Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because you can't go to the cinema to view films. So I mean, I don't know. Is Chris Nolan like working on releasing the Tenet still soon? Because I saw the trailer came out,
Dude.
and everyone was talking about the release date.
Okay, so Chris Nolan, right? He didn't release. He had the release date for a while because they're thinking, okay, cinemas will be back in July. Next thing you know, now it's saying coming to theaters. So I'm like,
yeah, I don't know how he does that. You know, Chris Nolan is. I've got so much respect for that dude because he's always been pushing for the cinema experience. Of course, he's always been pushing for IMAX.
That's 70 millimeters and everything. Like he wants you to have the experience. Like
and he doesn't want you to view it at home, like at all. So yeah. So Karen, I'll cut you off.
No. Sorry to interrupt you. When you bring up, sorry, I just have to talk about Chris Nolan because I love him. Like he's probably my favorite director because his films, right, even if they're based off properties, they at least have their own originality and they have their own style.
Sure.
And my God, when his action scenes are so top notch, and he always makes you think more about the film than you would actually want to. Even though, yeah, people can say, he makes you think too much, and I get it, but I just like the fact he makes me think more about the film. Like Inception, to me, if I was to say my favorite film ever, is between Inception and Lion King, because I'll never forget walking out the cinema and being like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life. Like I was blown away, even from beginning to end. And then every time I watch it again, I always find new mysteries that I didn't even remember, I didn't even know. Like I'm like, oh wow, like this is who the whole Mr. Charles character. Like I thought I understood it in the beginning, but I realized it was a whole different thing. And yeah, sorry.
Wait, what? No. Wait. Let's get into that. The Mr. Charles character.
So Leonardo DiCaprio, I think it's Mr. Charles, when he meets Cillian Murphy, I can't remember the names right. So Leonardo DiCaprio meets Cillian Murphy, and you know when he's talking to him and basically trying to help him out through the whole levels, essentially, he was actually a character that he made that he usually does called Mr. Charles. I didn't even clock that in the beginning. I don't know if I just didn't hear him, but in the beginning he was talking to his colleague and he was like, yeah, we're going to do the Mr. Charles. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like maybe it's just some joke or something, but no, that's his character. And he does that when he's doing heists. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, anyone, but that's what Mr. Charles is. And I was like, oh, so this is a whole thing, routine you do on a regular. This is not you acting. Like, wow. Like, yeah, stuff like that. And then, did you think he got out at the end, by the way? Because I do.
I remember having this debate in college about this. I have to watch this movie again, but so there's a thing where it comes to the tone, and I'm probably gonna be talking a whole lot of babble here, but something about it didn't make sense, and of course he always spins it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not his. It's not his tone, right? It's his wife's, right?
Oh yeah.
So in theory, it doesn't work on him. So the thing was, it's like it doesn't. Well, I don't know if it does or it doesn't matter, but everyone was thinking that the actual totem is his ring. Because he comes out and he always plays with it.
Plays with his ring. Oh, dude. He
always plays with his ring. So I can't remember what I thought was the outcome, and I might have to just go back and watch. But I think there's a way to tell. Is there a way to tell from that totem? I don't know, but that totem is not his, and so I don't know how you figure it out. I can't remember. The totem's not his.
No,
that spinning top is nothing.
It's not his.
It's his wife.
It isn't his. To be fair, it's not his. It's his wife. That is a fair point. Because my analogy was, if you see your kids' faces, right, even though you can probably remember them, and in the dreams he couldn't see his kids' faces, I'm like, come on, now you must be out because you couldn't visualize them for a while. But you could argue and say maybe he was so deep in the dream that he decided to accept his kids because he didn't want to see his faces. So it's a fair analogy, but I like your point though. I need to watch it again. See?
My thing was he's definitely seeing his kids' faces though, so can't you always just like... Did they talk about that in that? Did they talk about that in that movie? In a dream, you can only dream up people's faces. I can't remember, but I don't think the fact that he can see his kids' faces is proof that he got out.
That's fair.
I'll have to watch that movie again.
I need to watch that again. Yeah, I need to watch that again.